the higher you go in terms of pricing, the lower the margins will be, because you cannot charge the same margins on a £1,000 bottle that you charge on a lower end. Guests that do go for those fine wines, possibly they have a wine cellar at home. You want it to be as close as possible to the price they pay for the bottles that they drink at home.
That's true. Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of London Wine Competition, London Beer Competition and London Spirits Competition. We're live from London here. I'm with Stefano, one of the leading sommeliers of UK, and he's invited us to his amazing restaurant, Lucky Cat, part of the Gordon Ramsay group.
Yeah.
We're going to chat about, how to really build a premium by the glass program, and this is a great example. I think this restaurant really fits that profile, and that's where I want to really pick your brain on, right? So
Yes.
Let's start with your introduction, please, to our audience.
Yep. Hi, my name is Stefano. I'm the head sommelier here at Lucky Cat. I've been here since, previous opening, was in charge of wine when this used to be called Maze by Gordon Ramsay, and then in charge of the wine and sake program for the opening, which happened in June 2019. So we had a big focus, obviously, on the varietals. So our wine list is organized by grape variety, mainly. So we really wanted to showcase the noble varieties, the main noble varieties, which mainly would come from either France or Italy, and Spain, obviously, which are the original noble varieties. So your Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot Sauvignon, and Chardonnay from France, your Tempranillo, Albarino, for instance, from Spain, and Nebbiolo, Sangiovese, and so on from Italy. And so in doing that, what we did, we created a house selection, which is about 6 white, 6 reds, and 2 rosé. But then, because the offering on half bottles nowadays is less and less, because there is not a big demand for half bottles, but we still wanted to be able to offer our guests, and being in Mayfair, we tend to have that kind of crowd that like their fine wines, and we wanted to make sure our guests were able to drink a very good wine without having to buy the whole bottle. So for us, fine wines by the glass, it was a key point. So we started off with 8 whites and 8 reds on the premium selection, to then go to about 15 whites and 15 reds. I think you can even go more than that, because nowadays with the preservation systems like Coravin, the wines can keep for a long time. Obviously, when you start to pull the first 2 glasses, we keep for months or years. Then as you go down on the level of the bottle, then you sort of have to speed up things and do and use it up, really. But yeah, having fine wines really works, and to us, more than financially, is also that kind of that kind of offer that we give to our guests, the extra thing. And so, even to have, £300 glass of wine, why not? Because, the guests that would spend a couple of £1,000 on a bottle of wine, then you need to let them be able to enjoy a glass of their wine. Let's say the day that they come with friends or the wife, they're not drinking, but they want still to have a nice wine, then there is no point not having that. So for us, it's key to have different levels of wines by the glass.
In the such a luxury category for the glass, one of the things that come to my mind is that, are you optimizing that bottle, right? Because that can be, someone wants, let's say Burgundy Grand Cru, they opened, and now what if you just don't sell?
Yes.
Or what kind of things come to your mind when you're designing which wines to put and limit them. Should be a limit, otherwise it can.
Yeah, so let's say that on the lower end of the higher end, so you're, I don't know, let's say 20 to 30 pounds, up to 50 pounds
By the
glass
glass.
of wine by the glass.
Okay.
You can have, yes, known names like your Chablis Premier Cru, but also something quirky, something a bit different, something unknown, so that then without being super expensive, and then the guests obviously it's an unknown name, so they wouldn't spend thousands of pounds on a glass of wine of something which is they don't actually know, or it doesn't have a big name. But again, let's do a mix of known and unknown wines on the first bit of your Wines by the Glass by Corvin, but then on the higher end have the known names, the things that really guests want to see. So your first Gros Bordeaux, your Grand Cru Burgundy, things that you sell, you normally would never sell by the glass, but thanks to now systems like Corvin you can, and you will have a following. You will have somebody that before or later will go for those wines. And we can see that especially with classic regions like Burgundy and Bordeaux or Barolo, there is a demand. There is definitely a demand for it.
How do you price, come up with a pricing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my guess is price may not be the big factor here as long as it's under 50. I don't think people in Mayfair would consider a 35 or a 50 difference.
Yeah, let's say up to 50 pound is still considered okay, when you have a fine wine. But then the thing is, when you go over 50 pounds for a glass of wine, has to be something that people can recognize and say, okay, that is a top wine.
Okay, so give me some examples. Like, let's say you can pick your example as well. Like, why did you selected this, and why did you put it at 20 or 30 or 50?
Okay, so what we do in terms of pricing, we don't take advantage of pricing because it's by the glass. So all we do is, let's say a bottle of wine is divided between 6 glasses. All we do is we divide the price of the bottle between 6.
Okay.
So whenever a guest asks me, but I don't know, is it worth it to go for a glass or a bottle? I say, then it's up to you how much wine you like to have, because we don't put the price up just because we're doing a by the glass offering. Obviously, the higher you go in terms of pricing, and the lower the margins will be, because you cannot charge the same margins on a thousands of pound bottle that you charge on the lower end, because otherwise, obviously, and especially I would say the guests that do go for those fine wines, possibly they have a wine cellar at home, so you want it to be as close as possible to the price they pay for the bottles that they drink at home.
That's true. That's
so with what you do on fine wine, you just do a cash margin. Really.
So I think most of your consumers may be educated; they would already know.
Oh yeah, we've noticed in the past years there is a big increase in knowledge within guests.
And do you, as you said before, like you normally have done it by region or by variety?
Yes.
So. So if it's Riesling, then there will be 2 or 3, or you sort by pricing?
It's by pricing, but all the Rieslings will be together. Because I'm not saying that it's the best way you can organize a wine list, but what I've noticed throughout the years is that, okay, someone comes and asks for a bottle of Pinot Noir. Then you need to go 3 pages one way, 3 pages the other way, 5 pages the other way, because the Pinot Noir might be from Australia, or might be from the US,
That's
or might be from France. So it's kind of, it can get confusing because you're showing 6 different pages to the guest, where in a way somebody likes a bottle of Pinot Noir, all the Pinot Noirs are in the same page. So it just makes it easier. It just makes it easier for the guests, to me, it just makes it easier for the guests to find the wine they like. And also with the quality of wine has increased throughout the regions in the world. So the best Chardonnay is not necessarily made in Burgundy anymore, but could be an American. There is a big identity in other regions in the world, not just France or Italy. So I think it's not that wrong anymore to put the wines from different countries together, rather than separate by country. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And in terms of the by the glass offering, of the fine wine by the glass offering, I think again you need to have the usual suspects. So you need to have your Burgundy white, possibly an unoaked, so Chablis. Obviously, being fine wine, it has to be at least a Chablis Premier Cru. You need to have an oaked Chardonnay, so either an oaked Chardonnay from Burgundy or Pouligny or your Chassagne, something known, or something also known, but let's say, I don't know, from a Napa Valley Chardonnay, other than, I don't know, an Australian Chardonnay from Yarra Valley or whatever. And then, you know, your what I call the sommelier pick, so an unknown variety from Italy, but which has a very distinctive character. Or, you know, you need to have, I don't know, for instance, one sweet wines, because you might have a guest that would like a nice sweet wine. Not in terms of dessert wine, but enough dry wine. So you always need to think of, first of all, you need to think of what the guest might like, without just saying, okay, I like this wine, so I'm going to put it by the glass. You need to think of what guests like, first of all.
True.
Yeah.
On the wine preservation systems, right, on
Yeah.
waste management, what are some things that you normally do for this expensive wines, which are by the glass?
Well, we do use Coravin. I think Coravin is the most effective nowadays still, unless something else is going to come up. Because obviously the problem that might arise and will arise in the future is that obviously there is, well, now there is not so much, but there will still be a switch from corks to screw cap or diem. So, you know, not all the wines unfortunately are viable to do by Coravin. So most of the wines that you would do by the glass in terms of fine wine, you normally do wine under cork closure.
How long can you go with that system?
It again, as I said to you, if you pull one glass of wine, years. You pull 2 glasses of wine, you go down to months. You pull 3 glasses, so you know the more you take from the bottle. So I would say when you have 1 glass left, it needs to go within a week or 2. It just obviously there is more and more oxygen in the bottle, although there is this gas which stays between the wine and the oxygen. However, wine is not forever. You know, it's not forever. It's still.
So the system measures. It gives you an indication of this is the sort of used by sort of.
Yeah. So we write the date when we pull the first glass from the bottle.
That's what I was. Yeah.
So we know how long that wine has been started.
And what if you don't, are not able to sell by that time? What happens? Do you try to minimize the loss by asking the supplier? Do you have deals like that? Change, swap?
No, or we can use. Well, we won't wait until the wine goes off. So we check the label. Normally, what we try to do, even if we put just 1 glass, anyway, within the month or 2, that bottle has to go. So what we can do, we can use it on pairing, or simply if we need to give a glass on a guest, or some guests, or sometimes actually, they like to taste different wines, so you do like a little wine tasting for them.
So you tell your team that, okay guys, these are the 6 next,
yes, absolutely,
which you have to offer this week in case.
Absolutely. And obviously we need to, as you were asking about the training, you do need to do training with the staff. So if I have a bottle that, let's say, okay, I'm not that confident to sell anymore, then we will use that for staff training. Obviously, you cannot have the bottle returned to the supplier because the wine is not off. True. So you just Yep. So we take that into consideration. You will always have a little bit of wastage, but not because of that we're gonna stop offering this. Doing this offering for the guests, because I think it's, especially in a high-end restaurant or in a Mayfair restaurant, nowadays it's necessary to have fine wines by the glass. It's a necessity. So yeah.
And what would be your tips for sommeliers, let's say, who are, just a one-on-one, if you want to sum it up, on how many? What is an ideal offering? Like 12, you said in your case, let's say, or
it depends. It depends on the size of the restaurant, I would say, and how much focus is on wine in the restaurant. But with wine by the glass, I would have always at least 4 or 5 on the lower end, so that your everyday wines, and at least, let's say, 3 whites, 3, 4 whites, 3, 4 reds in terms of Coravin. But then, sky's the limit. You know, you got 67 Pulmo, they were offering like 700 wines by the glass. So, you know, again, you need to make sure, the only thing you need to make sure that your staff, your SOM team, or your staff anyway, understands what stock rotation means. Because if you keep selling, you have like, let's say 10 wines by the glass, you keep always selling the same one, then you would have, then that's where your wastage happen.
And at what time you measure, you know, I'm looking at the numbers, obviously this is not performing well, but you'll have to consider the change of menu costs as well, right? So at what time someone goes out and something new comes in?
Well, you see, Sid, we tend to buy fine wines in parcels.
Okay.
Because for me, another very important thing is maturity. And one of the problems that I see when I go around, you know, in other restaurants, that wines are not drunk at maturity, which could be a year after harvest for some lighter wines like a Sauvignon Blanc. But let's say for, I don't know, a Bordeaux or a Cabernet Sauvignon, it might be 5 years after harvest or bottling, or 10 years. Same goes with champagne. So I think maturity of the wine is key, and that's why we're always on the look for parcels of fine wine with maturity. So once, basically, we are one in, one out kind of mentality, like you would do with your. I don't know if you ever been to the 10 cases. It's a wine bar here in Seoul,
No.
and what they do, they literally buy 10 cases or something. That's it.
Ah, nice. Okay.
So with the fine wines, with the house selection, we tend to change with seasonality or when the menu changes. Then if the wines we have by the glass on the house selection, they don't go with the style of dishes that we do, we will change them. Or if we're not happy with the new vintage, for instance, with fine wine, it generally works that we buy a parcel of it, of wine, it's a full maturity. When it's gone, we buy something else. I think, especially in a place like ours, where you have a sort of sharing concept, it's very difficult to pair a wine with a dish, because guests might have like 5 different dishes at one time. So what you need to do is to make sure that your wines don't go disjointed with the food, so they don't cover the food. So which means wines that might be a bit too big, let's say. So either than having a too full wine, too full Cabernet Sauvignon, or like too tannic, having something which is a little bit more, a bit lighter, a bit rounder, just to make sure your wines don't cover. Because the main thing is with wine pairing, the wine cannot cover the food, because at the end of the day, we always need to remember this is a restaurant, so food is the king. So the wines, what would need to do is complement and uplift the food. If the wine covers the food, then we're not doing our job right.
That's a good point.
So for us, obviously, being Asian restaurant, obviously mainly it's whites, but even reds. And with the reds, we always like to have a good acidity, because acidity will cut through spices, will cut through hot spices, will cut through any spice, will cut through oiliness, greasiness of the foods, so clear the palate. Hence, with your whites, you always want, yes, it can be sort of an oaky Chardonnay, but always acidity. Yes, it can be a full body red, but always acidity and sort of brown tannins, so that it doesn't cover the food again. Let's say if you have a very tannic red with an oily fish, then it would really taste metallic. Or if you have a very tannic red with some spicy dishes, then the heat will raise even more. So what you don't want is to make the food taste worse. The food has to taste better with wine, otherwise there's no point.